Hi, moms. Welcome to Convention of States, Michigan. This is TimeOut with COS Moms. We are here for you, getting you guys all kinds of great information, getting you some inspiration and encouragement for civics responsibility, for Convention of States, for Article 5, and for everything that could mean for our kids, our futures, our country. This is TimeOut for COS Moms. So grab your tea, your coffee, your cocktail, whatever time of day you happen to be watching this video. It's time for your timeout. So I don't know about all of you, but I have it's middle of July here, right? So middle of July, we have some fresh squeezed lemonade that I made with my kids the other day. We did lemonade and cookies when it was raining the other morning. So it's actually quite delicious. I'm quite proud of myself. I've never done homemade fresh squeezed lemonade before, but it worked really well. So there we go. So for this week, and I want to be able to join all of you, and thank you for joining me. I want to be able to talk about the Article 5 process and what that means for all of us. So can we actually trust the Article 5 process? First of all, when we're talking about Article 5, what is it that we're referring to? Article 5 is referring to the federal constitution, right? So the big one that's under glass in the National Archives in Washington, D.C., right? Our U.S. federal constitution. Within Article 5 gives us two ways to be able to amend the Constitution, right? There's 6 or 7 articles total in the Constitution as originally written. Article 5 is the one that deals with 2 different methods of being able to amend the Constitution, if and when it ever becomes necessary to do so. There have been 27 amendments thus far, including the first 10, which are the Bill of Rights. So within this Article 5 that we are seeing, that we see kind of laid out before us, you can see and read the language for yourself. Can we actually trust the Article 5 process for amending the Constitution? Can we trust the influence and the focus of actually bringing delegates together to actually hold a national Article 5 convention of all of the states, of having all of those delegates together? Can we trust those delegates who are sent for an Article 5 convention to be able to do their jobs correctly and efficiently, and to be able to get the job done the way that they need to? Or could an Article 5 convention of the states devolve into just another Washington, D.C. lobbyist movement, right? Another just funnel of some more influence and money, and not actually get the end result that we are hoping to be able to achieve with having an Article 5 convention of all of the states. So moms, you have a right, first of all, to know what that is. You have a right, in a very good cause, to ask these types of questions and to be wondering these types of things. Obviously, we see the pretty big lobbyist influence that is influence peddling that we see throughout Washington, D.C. now, and it's good to be able to wonder if that type of thing would continue. We struggle with who and what even influences our own children, right? We see that around just in our own immediate worlds. We have to be able to control outside influences even on our own households, right? And especially in the age of cell phones and social media, it's increasingly difficult to be able to navigate this type of influence peddling on our families, much less attempt to try to do something about it in Washington, D.C. So let me encourage you in all of this, moms. Hold fast to what is true. Those same concerns apply to special interest groups and influence peddling at a national Article 5 convention. We're obviously very aware of those types of influences, the amount of money, the amount of influence that could possibly be had at an Article 5 convention. How can we control who influences a national Article 5 convention of all of the states? So in order to answer that question for all of you and to reassure all of us that we're on the right track with this, we look to history to reveal how this aspect of having an Article 5 convention would in fact actually operate, how we would actually walk that out. So when we hold a convention of the states to propose amendments to the United States Constitution, rest assured, this very first point, the entire Constitution is not up for grabs. We don't have the legal authority to incorporate the entire Constitution, all of the different aspects, all of the other constitutional amendments, the Bill of Rights. We're not incorporating any of those other things into a convention of the states. We don't have the legal authority to do that within Article 5, even if we wanted to. Under Article 5, and throughout the historical record of having interstate conventions, when we hold a convention of all of the states, the delegates who attend are given a very specific charge. There's a very specific agenda that is laid out that the delegates are agreeing to ahead of time. They are only allowed to discuss and negotiate and vote on any language pertaining to the specific agenda at hand. Why the convention is getting called in the first place. That's the only reason that the convention that is being held has the legal authority to even do what it's doing. Specifically with the Article 5 convention that Convention of States is proposing, that our national team is working with, that our state team is working with, we are proposing an Article 5 convention under 3 specific topic items. Those 3 topic items, we've talked about them several times in the past, basically including term limits, limiting federal spending, and limiting federal jurisdiction over the states. Those 3 topic items are the only ones that would be discussed. Those 3 topic items are specifically written out and discussed in the state applications to even hold a convention in the first place. And we already know ahead of time that those topics, we know what those topics are going to be because that's what the states are voting on and agreeing to. And they're agreeing to all of that now when they're agreeing to sign on to holding a convention. Once again, limiting federal spending, term limits, and then limiting federal jurisdiction over the states. The delegates themselves that are actually attending the convention, including the number of them, how many of them, how they're chosen, how they're voted on, is determined by each state's legislature. There's no national delegates. There's no national representation. There's no representation from Washington, D.C. itself. It's very localized to each state and to what each state wants to be able to accomplish within its own state legislature. So even if a lobbyist group were to become some sort of nominated delegate, somehow it would only be for one particular state or even one particular area within that one state. And then that delegate that's getting sent to the convention is still going to be legally bound, to discuss only those 3 topic items that we just talked about, that they've been charged with in the first place. So if they violate that oath, if any of the delegates violate that oath, and they do attempt to somehow subvert the conversation into a different topic or some other special interest, or they try to drive a vote a certain way, or they try to bring up some other topic to negotiate for some, off the cuff, different type of amendment proposal, several things will happen as a result. First, everything that delegate is attempting to influence is going to be dismissed out of hand. They will be in violation of all of the rules of orders of procedure that will be put in place at the start of the convention. That person would most likely be recalled by their state because they are in violation of their oath to the convention to be the delegate in the first place. And in a lot of states, there's actually criminal prosecution and criminal penalties for violating such an oath. Additionally, there's certainly nothing that they have to say that's actually going to get voted on that would actually get voted out of the convention. It wouldn't even get discussed. It's not going to get negotiated. There wouldn't be any committees on kind of off the hand topics. There wouldn't be any place for that type of discussion. So it certainly would never even be able to get a vote to be able to get voted or have a proposal get voted out of the convention itself. You would need a majority of the states, majority of the states to actually vote any amendment proposals out of the convention, right? So you're looking at 26 states to do something like that, and that wouldn't happen in that regard. And even further, when you then need to go ahead and get any amendment proposals ratified, it only takes 13 states to actually reject any of these amendment proposals in the first place. So there's no way that any sort of special interest your special interest specific amendment, something like that, would ever get ratified by 38 states and then actually become an effective part of the Constitution itself. So Our founders set the bar high, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. They did not make it easy, but they made it effective. They set the bar high in order for us to even be able to hold the convention of all of the states in the first place. And this was seemingly to ensure that it was actually we, the people, to be able to speak through a convention, send our representatives and send our delegates, and not just individuals simply attempting to change the Constitution on a whim. We wouldn't be able to do that. And it wasn't designed to do that. So if you have any questions, if you want to learn more, or if this topic has piqued your interest in any way, if you want to learn more, if you want to join our team, if you want to join our Michigan team, feel free to do so. We would love to have you on board. You can go ahead and contact me at askmi@cosaction.com. I will go ahead and put that up for you guys, askmi@cosaction.com, to be able to reach out to me directly. I can get you pointed in the right direction that way too. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for discussing influence peddling with me on this beautiful Wednesday summer afternoon. Enjoy your lemonade, and we'll see you all back here in a couple weeks.